Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Leonard and welcome back to another episode of the Love Doesn't Hurt podcast, where we provide domestic violence education, empower survivors, and promote healing from the inside out. This week we are talking about all things Domestic Violence Awareness Month. If you didn't know, October is DVAM, and it's an incredibly important time to promote domestic violence education content. In today's episode, I will be reviewing the types of abuse, the signs of them, and how you can get involved this month. Just as a reminder, don't forget to subscribe and follow the podcast on whatever streaming platform you use, and give the podcast a 5-star rating or a like if you'd like to support the mission of Love Doesn't Hurt. With that being said, let's get into the episode. So, for those of you who don't know, I am a hidden survivor of domestic violence, or a child that grew up in a home where I was exposed to domestic violence. This podcast is the way that I was able to take back the narrative on the story of my own life. I thought that I was broken because of the trauma I experienced growing up, and that I would never be normal. I thought that I was destined to be in abusive and unhealthy relationships of my own because those patterns of abusive behavior were all I knew until the age of 17. Now I know that is not the case. I am actively breaking the cycle in my own life by educating others about domestic violence and healing my own traumas from my childhood. I am now even a trained community educator for my local domestic violence shelter at school. If you're listening and think you may be experiencing domestic violence or think you know someone who is, you are not alone. Every 3 seconds, someone becomes a victim of domestic violence. There are resources out there for you as a victim of domestic violence, and even if you're a secondary survivor, supporting someone you know that has experienced DV. The National Domestic Violence Hotline number and website is always provided at the end of every one of my episodes and in the description, so please reach out for help. You are strong enough and brave enough to get through this. You are never stuck, and it is never too late to get out of that relationship. Reach out to resources for help if you are ready to take that next step. So starting out on the types of abuse is physical abuse. In cases of domestic violence, people often don't believe they're being abused unless they're physically harmed. That is absolutely not the case. You can 100% experience domestic violence and never once be physically harmed. Nonetheless, physical abuse is defined as any intentional act causing injury or trauma to another person by way of bodily contact. In relationships, this may look like hitting, punching, forcing you to use drugs or alcohol, or preventing you from eating or sleeping. No form of physicality that causes a partner harm or fear is acceptable. And leaving domestic violence is often scary because the first 2 weeks after leaving have the highest likelihood for lethality. That is why having a safety plan and being connected to a domestic violence resource center is so important. And why we need to have a community that is more knowledgeable about domestic violence so we can all support survivors on their journey. Emotional abuse, also referred to as psychological abuse, is defined generally as a form of abuse characterized by a person subjecting or exposing another person to behavior that may result in psychological trauma. This can involve damaging a person's self-esteem or self-image, withholding emotional support, using threats, and creating isolation. Emotional abuse can look like minimizing someone's feelings, making someone feel guilty, threatening to harm or leave someone, or controlling where someone goes, what they wear, or who they interact with. Sexual abuse is defined as abusive sexual behavior, often perpetrated using force or by taking advantage of another. Sexual coercion is defined as unwanted sexual activity that happens when you are pressured, tricked, threatened, or forced in a non-physical way. This can look like a partner giving the other drugs or alcohol to loosen their inhibitions, a partner reacting with sadness, anger, or resentment when the other does not consent, or a partner implying the other owes them a sexual favor for a previous action, gift, or consent. Reproductive coercion is also included with sexual abuse and coercion. This is defined as a collection of behaviors that interfere with decision-making related to reproductive health. Stalking is another form of abuse and is defined as engaging in a course of conduct directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person to fear for their safety or the safety of others, or suffer substantial emotional distress. So basically, if someone is repeatedly watching, following, or harassing you to the point where you feel afraid or unsafe, that is stalking. Stalking can look like showing up at your work or home unannounced or uninvited, using social media or technology to track your activities, damaging your home, car, or other property, or manipulating other people to investigate your life to get information about you. Financial abuse is defined as a form of abuse when one intimate partner has control over the other partner's access to economic resources, which diminishes the victim's capacity to support themselves and forces them to depend on the perpetrator financially. This can look like giving you an allowance and monitoring what you purchase, preventing you from working, limiting the hours that you work or getting you fired, living in your home but refusing to work or contribute to the household, and an abuser spending money on themselves but preventing you from doing the same. And finally, we have digital abuse, which is defined as the use of technology and the internet to bully, harass, stalk, intimidate, or control a partner. This can look like telling you who you can and can't follow on social media, using social media to track your activities, insulting or humiliating you in their posts online, including posting unflattering photos or videos, stealing or insisting on being given your account passwords, sending, requesting, or pressuring you to send unwanted explicit photos or videos, sexts, or otherwise compromising messages, and using smart home technology, smart speakers, or security cameras to track your movements, communications, and activities. So how can you get involved with DVAM, or Domestic Violence Awareness Month? The first way is getting connected to your local domestic violence resource center. DV shelters and centers are typically always looking for volunteers, donations, and support. Depending on what your local resource center offers, you may be able to help volunteer as a community educator, a crisis hotline worker, a hospital accompaniment worker, a court advocate, a financial advisor, or some other service volunteer. If you don't feel comfortable volunteering or don't really have the time, see what forms of donations your local resource center is looking for. This may be a strict monetary donation or donations of clothing, food, or otherwise. You can also support your local shelter by sharing their resources and posts on social media and going to and bringing others to fundraising events. There are truly so many ways to get involved with this work, and it's both needed and very fulfilling. If you don't have a local domestic violence resource center, October 19th is Wear Purple Day. So I would love to see you guys wear purple in support of Domestic Violence Awareness Month and share it on social media with the hashtag #WearPurple and tag me. Which reminds me, we now have both a Facebook and an Instagram page for Love Doesn't Hurt. So please, please, please go follow me over there. I will be posting a podcast episode every week of October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month and posting on Instagram and Facebook daily. This is my big push for getting education content out there because October is such an important month for domestic violence awareness. So that is a little review of my story, the types of abuse, and how you can get involved this month for DVAM. It is my goal with the Love Doesn't Hurt podcast to create a community of survivors and a greater community that is more knowledgeable about domestic violence so we can not only help those who have experienced domestic violence survive, but thrive. Love Doesn't Hurt aims to be another resource people can use to understand their experiences, get help, and know they're not alone. If you need immediate help, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or text START in all capital letters to 88788. You can also visit their website, thehotline.org, for more information. If you enjoyed this episode and are as excited about DVAM as I am, please be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. If you would like to support the podcast, I would really appreciate you giving it a 5-star rating wherever you listen. Also, be sure to go follow me on Instagram and Facebook because I will be posting every day in October so more people can learn about domestic violence during our Awareness Month. With that being said, thank you for listening to the Love Doesn't Hurt podcast. I hope you all have a great day, and remember, spread love everywhere you go.